This shiur Parashat
Chukat.
Parashat Chukat is Leilui Nishmat, my father-in-law, my dear father-in-law, Reuven Leib ben Emmanuel vechana or Anna, and also lehavdil refuah shlema of Mazal bat Leah, Chaim Israel Alevi ben Batya, Ilana Rivka bat Rachel, Avner ben Chefzi. Avner, לא Avner. Avner ben Ner. בוא, תתעלה. Come here. So, fantastic parasha. Fantastic. Teaches us a lot of lessons about many things in life. One thing for sure, it tells us the art of complaining. And let's see what's going on here. The pasuk says the following: Vayis'u mihor ha'ar, and they went from the place it's called Hor Ha'ar, derech Yam Suf, to the Red Sea, lesovev et Eretz Edom, to come around Eretz Edom. Eretz Edom is what today is called, if we're going to go today through Yam Suf, where Elat is, to go around like that would be Jordan, but just in the border between Jordan and Saudi Arabia. V'tiktzar nefesh ha'am baderech, and all of a sudden, the people said, you know what? It's enough with this path. I'm sick and tired of sitting in traffic. I'm going crazy. I want to crawl out of my skin. They can't do this anymore. Vayedaber hayam be'elokim. And then all of a sudden the people start to complain against God. Moshe, and also complain about Moshe. And what did they say? Lama ha'eltanu mimitzrayim lamut bamidbar. Why did you bring us out of Egypt to die in the desert? Again, we had this before in a different place. Right. Why? This time is why? Ki en lechem ve'en mayim. There's no bread and there's no water. Ve'nafshenu katza balechem aklokal. And we had enough with this, annoying bread, this like vile bread that we're eating. That vile bread is the man. I mean, I don't know. You got to be an absolutely dope to have such a complaint. But we need to understand what's going on here in the complaint. And that's a lesson to all of you. So, if you are ever a manager or a boss or something like this, you would know that there isn't a boss/manager that likes complaints. They don't want to hear it. And especially if the complaint is for the sake of complaining, which is, of course, something that most people do because they just like to complain. Sometimes, and you should know, it's very legitimate to give an opinion, and it's important to voice your concern or to voice your opinion. Sit here, feel comfortable, get yourself some English tea. However, the right to complain, the importance of stating your concern or to voice your opinion, even though it's different than other people, it's not necessarily legitimate enough to a complaint that is not professional. However, regardless of what you've seen in the company or feeling and so on and so forth, again, you should say it, but just to complain is not good. It's very destructive. If you want to walk in a hallway, your average workplace hallway, now it doesn't make a difference if it's a school or or a yeshiva or some company that you work in, Fortune 500 or unfortunate 100, right? You could hear the people talking in the hallway, and usually in the coffee corner. And it's the syndrome that is called the complaining worker. And always there are complaints. And many times, those complaints are not necessarily quite clear or rational. Why are they complaining about? Most of the time, those complaints explain what is not really okay, right? But most of them do not include the most critical part in that conversation. What could we do to solve the problem? You hear people complaining, for example, about society. What are you going to do in society to actually solve the problem? Or what are you willing to do? Or in your company, what is there? Okay, there is something that needs to be fixed. Terrific, fine, we hear you. What are you willing to do for it? That, you'll see 99% of the time, is missing. People like to create problems, and I'll tell you that, not only that they don't want to come with solutions, most of the time, they don't want to hear the solutions. Most of the time, people are in a certain also state of avoidance. It's very easy. I'm going to avoid it. I don't have to deal with it. I just want to complain. But that makes your complaint invalid. In other words, your idea, Motek, sit here. I like you, Eitan. Sit here. Don't be uncomfortable. You took a shower this week. Okay, Baruch Hashem. So you're good. Don't feel uncomfortable. Guys, everybody, that's Eitan. Fine specimen if everybody wants a shidduch for Eitan. Yeah, tend especially the Instagram to Eitan. 1 second. Yeah. All right. Those complain would start with something small like the status of the coffee or the type of coffee in the kitchen, and they're going to end up in complaints about management, about professionalism, and so on and so forth. So therefore, what do we learn from that? Rabbi Yitzchak Arama reveals us the story. He's very aware to this, exactly what's going on in this parasha, in this ordeal that's going on in this parasha, after the case that the kingdom of Edom, which are descendants of Esav, aka the Yaakov's twin, refuses to allow the Jews to come through the territory, and that's why they forced the people to do a tremendous detour into the desert to simply go around it. I mean, they had to go quite of a long way around it to do this detour. Of course, this is not something that is fun. It's not something that is really fair. They told you, we're going to pay our way. No, you're not going to go. It's similar to what you would see. I don't know if you're aware of this part of American history. During the grazing wars, when there was an expansion to the west, people were grazing cattle, and there was free. And you can go graze whatever you want. People start to buy territory and then fence the territory around with barbed wire, and that did not allow the grazers to go in with the cattle, and they had to make a detour. I mean, it's something similar to what was going here. So, of course, it's not fair, especially if you take into consideration the fact that they had to do so for 40 years in the desert. So what did the people do? What did the people do? Yes, we understand the reason for that. You are in a state of really despair and you're feeling uncomfortable because they didn't let you go. You were schlepping yourself 40 years in the desert. But you didn't deal with that. What did Am Yisrael do? They didn't complain about Edom. They didn't complain about, the descendants of Esav. Deal with it. They complained about the man. And that's what serial complainers usually do. They complain about the man, which is the heavenly bread that came from the heaven every single day, and they call it lechem klokal, spoiled bread, spoiled food, which is quite bizarre. Why do you call it spoiled food? I mean, afterwards, if you're thinking about it, the bread was not the source of the complaint. The man itself was not what they were complaining about. They complained because they couldn't go through. Then what happens? This happened, then they complain about the bread. So why are you complaining about the bread? What has to do with the man? For crying out, what has to do with that? So it seems, and it's something to be very, very careful. Pay very close attention, especially certain specimens here among us. When a person complaining, and he's complaining, not trying to find a solution, especially for you psychologists, it'll be good for you. I'll give you an A for that. He simply picks up the first, most easiest thing that comes to his mind, and on that he dumps all his frustration, all his bitterness on it. So usually you find the easiest target for you to pick whether it's going to be your parents, whether it's going to be your wife, whether it's going to be your Rebbe, whether it's going to be anybody that you know that really hasn't done anything to you. You refuse to deal with the problem. You dump all your load on something else. The easiest thing that you see, because that would not cause you a fight, that would not cause you any kind of stress. So you, as a coward, pick that and you said, that's the blame. It's his fault. And they'll come up with crazy excuses. I'm not being appreciated. I'm not being rewarded. You're making my life miserable. You don't cook for me on time. You don't bake for me on time. Well, it's not their fault. You can, and you see it many times. If you ever going to go into like family therapy from the therapist's point of view, you will see that most of the time, let's say the husband goes out to work or the wife works, they come home, they might have a hard day at work. The first one to get the tsunami of complaints is the spouse at home. They really have nothing to do with that. That's an act of cowardice. And that's what we all do. And that's what Am Yisrael did. So what if we're gonna go back to the office scenario, a person should be very happy that it's good for him. I mean, aren't you happy that you have a place that you while you work you can have a cup of coffee? It's good for you, convenient, it's good for you. So a person is not complaining about the type of the coffee itself is not the problem. The fact that you have this kind of spoons instead of that kind of spoon, that's not the problem. He's complaining basically that complaining simply indicates of a certain internal emptiness in that person itself, or that worker, or that person itself. Something internally is wrong, but you just don't want to, can't, whatever, deal with it. So you, how do you call it in psychology?
Project.
No, that's not project. Transference. Very good. You need to do a chazara on Freud over there, Habibi. And now you should know that if a person is not happy, right, he's going to affect the whole entire organization. It's poison. It's poison. One person will talk to another person, and the other person will say, oh yeah, you're right, now there are two people, and now they're poisoning. It's a rotten apple. It would ruin the whole entire box, the whole organization. Companies really try to make a lot of effort to make people's work experience very positive, but yet people take advantage, of course, right? And they still complain. So I think the best thing to do is what the Torah said. You complain about the coffee? Not a problem. You complain about the coffee. I provide you, the company provides you with coffee. Not a problem. Guess what? Buy your own, no more coffee. Buy your own coffee. You complaining about the bread, you complaining about the man, guess what? Walk around. Walk around. I'm going to whack you now. And that's the difference between what happened at the time when the first time the Bnei Israel complained when after 3 days, why you took us out of Mitzrayim, to die in thirst. You're right, for 3 days they didn't have water. HaKadosh Baruch Hu did not punish them about that. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu punished them about this, because you're complaining in vain. This complaint is complaining in vain. There's no grounds to base on. You have a problem, buddy, deal with it. Deal with it. Don't be a coward. So the complaint of Am Yisrael that there's no bread, as we said, it's really weird. It's really wrong. Why? Because they got this bread every single day in the desert for 40 years. They got water because their previous complaint. They got water through what's her name? Through the Miriam Be'er. I mean, they didn't have to. You know what it is to go to the desert and not worry about water? I mean, you don't understand how lucky they are. So they got it. So now you're complaining about that there is water and there is wrong bread? This is also something wrong. So besides the internal weakness that it shows that indicates something else. And on that point, you should pay very close attention, because that's becoming more spiritual in that manner. Rabbeinu Bechaye, you can leave it there, we're going to put it back. Rabbeinu Bechaye paid attention to that. And he says that complaint was not due to a real need to have bread and to have water because they have it. So let's go down to the bottom of that. What was the reason for that? He writes the following, and I'm quoting, "Aval zot hayta tlunatam." That was their complaint. And what was it? Amru, "Hine einenu meshuneh." For us, it's different. We are different. Our situation is different. We don't have bread. We don't have water. Like what? We do have bread and water, but we don't have bread and water like the rest of the nations. I'm going to tell you the following. The biggest problem of Am Israel, even today, even in Israel, is that unexplainable need to be like everybody else. They are willing to be like anybody else, even to erase their own identity. And that's what happens in Israel. To erase their own, they want to be like everybody else, and sometimes to such an extreme that whatever they do, let's say in America, in Israel, they're going to do it 50 times more. And it's not always the best thing. Not always. So after that, Rabbeinu Bechaye says, Ki shara omot, the rest of the nation, im hayu zakayin or chayavim, whether they're going to be worthy or not worthy, yesh lahem lechem lasova. They eat. They have enough bread to eat. Ve'en tzarich lomar hamayim, needless to say the water. Go to Iran, or go to North, I don't know about North Korea, but go to Iran, they have water in the faucet, they have food to eat, no, right? Aval anu, for us, Ikar kol hanagotenu ma'achalenu, whatever we eat or we drink, b'inyan mechudash. There's nothing taken for granted here. Why? As we see in the Parashat when we read Kriyat Shema. והיה אם שמוע תשמעו לכל מצוותיי אשר אנוכי מצווה אתכם היום. If you're going to listen to whatever I tell you, guess what? נתתי מתרצכם בעיתו, יורה ומלקוש, and so on and so forth. ואם לא, ועצר את השמיים ולא יהיה מטר ואדמות נבולה. Am Israel doesn't want that. Am Israel wants a free check all the time. Now, that's a little bit of a I don't know about you, but it seems logical to me. Why should we be different? What? 1 second. Who do you love more? The rest of the goyim? Or you love us? To the goyim, what to do? You give him food. We have to work for it? What kind of thing is that? So I'm going to remind you, let's go to the beginning of the Torah in Parashat Bereshit. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu cursed Adam HaRishon, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu cursed the snake. Now, last time I checked, the curse of a snake does not seem like a curse. You're going to crawl on the dirt, and you're going to eat the dirt. No, in other words, anywhere you go, you're going to have food. Adam HaRishon, Habibi, you're going to work, you're going to plant, and your land is going to bring kotz v'dardar, thorns and thistles. Bezeat apecha tochal lachem. Now you should know a little trick. So people think that HaKadosh Baruch Hu actually cursed them and it's bad. That's not true. Everything that happens from HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always good. So how is it good? I'm going to work and I'm going to have thorns and thistles. Now you should know that everywhere the thorns and thistles grow, it is an indication that the soil is perfect to grow wheat and grain on it. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu did not curse him. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave him a great sign. You're going to see thorns and thistle. Over there you're going to plow. Over there you're going to have food. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, I'm going to make you somewhat independent. The snake, you think it was not a curse? I'll tell you it was the biggest curse. What's the biggest curse? HaKadosh Baruch Hu also says, I'll give you as much food as you ever need. And guess what? You will never need to ask me for anything. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, you know why? Because I don't want to hear you anymore. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is responsible for Chol Bruah, for all his creations. But certain things, I don't want to hear you. I don't want to hear you talking to me. I don't want to hear you praying for me. I'm going to give you what I give you because I am God and you are my creation, but I don't want to hear you. Am Yisrael, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, no, I want to hear you. I want you to pray to me. And I'm going to give you something based on what you're going to do. You're going to be good, because you should know that your conduct is above nature. However, if you want to be like nature, like it is in nature, well, guess what? Rule number one in nature is the strong eats the weak. You are not known for your great numbers. You want to be like everybody else? You want to be like everybody else? You want to be like a very unnatural kind of a thing? Hey, not a problem. You're going to get whacked. You're going to be the way I want you to be. You don't have to worry about anything. I'll take care of everything for you. But there's something in return. I'm not asking you in return to pay me. I'm asking you to just listen to what I tell you to do. That's how we pay back God for what He's giving us. And we are expected to do better and to know better. And when people complain, and they complain about God, where is God in here? Where is God in there? It shows an indication, not that there is lack of God, God forbid, anywhere. It shows within themselves a tremendous lack of understanding about what their duty is in the world and how they stand in God's world and what they're expected of doing. In other words, they are completely lost when it comes down to that. And Rabbeinu Bechayei, it's a tremendous point that he paid attention to. It says, "Afilu hamayim shehem hefker lekol haolam," even water, that it's all over the world. You can take an ocean and make it into drinking water. Ve'en la'adam mechia zulatam. Once Miriam died, the water went away. Why? מאחר שכל עניינו נמשכים אחר העונש והשכר. You did well, you get a reward. You didn't do well, you're not getting it. So he says, "Ine anu mechudashim ba'hanaga yoter mishar ha'omot." The way HaKadosh Baruch Hu conducts His business with us is different and is a new concept than the rest of the nation in the world. You got to understand that. Bishvil kavod tzarich la'avod. You want to be honored, you want to be best, and so you got to work for that. So, therefore, as we said, the complaint of Am Yisrael was not on that they don't have bread and water because they had it, but because they don't have bread and water like the rest of the nation. That they have whatever they need. We need to work for it. But you should know that if somebody gives you everything and you don't have to worry about it, that's a prison. You want to be free? You take it. You want to be free? You got to work for it. Don't look for freebies. Another thing that Am Yisrael is complaining about is, as we say, "V'nafshenu katza balechem haklokol," as Rabbeinu Bechayai says, "Ve'od ki oto alechem haba elenu davar yom beyomo lechem klokalu." That bread that we're going to eat, that we're eating now, that's a very bad bread. Why? Because when we're going to eat it, it's going to be bad in our stomachs. What do you mean it's going to be bad in your stomachs? Because their assumption is, what? Is there a human being that eats something and nothing comes out of it? Because we know that 40 years they ate that heavenly bread. It was saturated completely in their system. There was no waste. They didn't go to the bathroom for 40 years. Not because they were constipated, because it was all, their cells use 100% of it. One of the reasons I think today that we as individuals are sick, not because, I'm talking about physically weaker and not so healthy, is because in a way there's no bracha in the food we eat. Everything is engineered, is plastic and everything, is processed. I want to challenge you to try to eat not 1 year, not even 1 month. Try to eat 1 week, the whole entire week, unprocessed food. Only something that you will make from scratch. And then take it for a month, and then take it for a year, and you see how better you feel. When you eat processed food or prepared food, you have no control, you're just eating. That's why you eat food and you're getting fat. You eat food and you're getting sick. You eat a tomato, it tastes like plastic. It doesn't taste like tomato. Tomatoes have a smell, they have a flavor. You eat something, it's like, no flavor. I still have COVID here? I don't taste anything. I don't smell anything. Because what you're eating is food without bracha. So they were complaining on the miracle that happened to them. By the way, because people complain about miracles, it is a proof and is an evidence that miracles are not a guarantee for Yirat Shamayim. As a matter of fact, probably lack of miracles are better for your Yirat Shamayim than miracles themselves. So don't ask for miracles. Ask for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to give you the opportunity to put some real hard work. That's the only way that's going to give you Emunah. That's the only thing that's going to make your belief strong. That's the fact that you have to work on something. So now, when they had this bread that basically was immersed into their system, Rabbeinu Bechaya says, "V'zoi hadiba she'otziu baman." That is the, how we say diba? Slander. That is spoke. It's not about the bread. It's all about God. Because the lechem, and he writes, "Shaya lahem lekavod u'ma'ala." There was a great benefit for them, so they actually ate this bread that was given to Am Yisrael. There was no wrong with it. That they found to be the wrong thing. It was not really that. And why is that? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave it to them, shiur, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu made us like this. Shiur einenu tamid tluyot b'HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for us to always pray to God. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants our prayers. Why Am Yisrael has to go through such hardship? So we should pray for God. Why? Because when everything is hunky-dory, peachy keen, everything is good for you, guess what will happen? As the Torah says, Vayishman Yeshurun Vayivat. When Am Yisrael gets fat, when everything is good, when they're able to go, it's so crazy to me. I was in Israel, I went to visit my mom with my wife. Let me tell you, well, if it wasn't for my wife, I won't go to visit my mother. It was all because of her, because I would stay here to teach you. What was amazing to me is Israelis go overseas. They go to Europe, they go to Montenegro, they go to all places in the world. They haven't seen their own country yet. It's crazy to me. It's really unbelievable. It's too hot here. I mean, 1 second. In Israel, it's too hot and too humid, so why are you going to India? You know how hot it is in India? I mean, it's not raining men in India, it's raining elephants. It's so hot.
It's an oven over there.
A wet oven, right? Or you go to Thailand. This is a stinking place, Thailand. What are you going to do there? You haven't seen Israel. So all this thing that people do, right, is for us to pray to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to hear us. And by doing so, and why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu make it like this? It will be hard for Am Yisrael. להרגיל אותם במידת הביטחון והאמונה בשם יתברך. When you pray to God and you're getting through it, and he says, my goodness, I mean, you should just think about it. Is there another nation that had gone through such suffering and misery and oppression constantly from the time since Am Yisrael went down to Mitzrayim until today? I don't know if you know, there is now a new or whatever neo-Nazi movement in the United States. It's called, I don't know, Goyim something, huh?
Right, Goyim something, right.
Goyim Life Matter, I don't know, something like that. Right now they put a big Nazi flag on California, somewhere in California. Why until today we have to suffer? I don't think there is a nation in the history of the world that suffers so much and is still holding on, even the way they do. That's why we are here. It's to show us the Emunah Gamzei Yavo. They will pass too. And why? Be'ezrat Hashem. Everything with the help of God. But we need to do Ha'ishtadlut. It will pass, but we need to do Ha'ishtadlut. Not to give up. We don't give up. There's no such thing as quitting. That's why I love those special army units like Navy SEALs. For them, one of the most famous lines is, what is this? Goyim Defense League, yes. Mach Shema V'Shem Zichram. Jewish Defense League, the United States made it into a terror organization. Goyim Defense League, it's okay, no problem, you know. One of the lines that I like, for example, from Navy SEALs is the easiest day was yesterday. and they're still going on. You know, the easiest that was yesterday, I don't care about it. The easier, yes, that was easy. We're gonna push through. That's why they're different. Am Yisrael should have this mentality, and that's why I expect from each and every one of you, not to be a quitter, not to complain in vain for something that you don't want to hear a solution, not to pick up a scapegoat in which you're going to throw la azazel to put all your complaint, your punching bag. That you have a problem, you deal with it. Don't complain about somebody else. Don't complain about something else. Try to find a solution. In other words, for crying out loud, try to find responsibility. Are you responsible for what you did? Why did you forget? Why did you go in the desert for 40 years? Did you forget? Why did you do that? You forget? Should I remind you? I mean, you didn't go in the 40 desert because you did the egel. Because you complained to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for nothing. The egel did not cause us to go to the desert in 40 years.
The 250 people, Korach and stuff like that?
No, the meraglim, the spies. The spies. So, the whole idea was, Am Yisrael going to enter the land and they're going to work hard, right? And they didn't want to be dependent on God. Their thing is, and they were right about to go, they didn't want to be dependent on God. We want to be like everybody else. We don't want this. Why? Because when Am Yisrael gets possession and they get healthy and they get fat and it's all good, they throw away God right away. So therefore, how are we going to throw away God? We know what the Kadosh Baruch Hu did for us. We know how good it is for us. We know how much we owe HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we were never going to be able to pay him. Ever. So what are we going to do? How are we going to break away from God? How? Well, we're going to complain. We're going to complain.
Why would they want to break away from?
Because they want to be like everybody else. Because they don't have a spine. They don't want to be dependent on God. They want it easy. They want to get handouts like you want to get handouts from the government. That's why I'm saying better off you get to work minimum wage than you get handouts from the government. I don't know if it doesn't make a difference if everybody else gets it. You don't get it. Have some dignity, for crying out loud. You want to be free? Don't get handouts. Don't get handouts. Well, everybody else get it. Why shouldn't I? Because you see, this is the same thing what happens now. Schools, yeshivot, take money from the government. Hey, they're giving us, we might as well take it. Guess what happens? Now the government tell you what to think, what to say, what to teach. Well, what's going to be with Torah? How are the people going to learn? How students going to... Ayad Hashem tiktzar? But HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to let you all die? HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to find a way. What happened to your Emunah that you're trying to teach your students of heaven? Why do you not have this Emunah? Did you ever think about that? Hayad Hashem tiktzar. What did they do for all these years until today? What? We didn't have yeshivot? People were not frum? Each and every one of us took responsibility at the time, our ancestors, our grandparents, our great-grandparents, to pay money from the pockets towards that. They arranged in the communities to pay money that every kid would learn. They made schools in shuls. But you want to, you want to get a little fat. So you take money from the government. Our government takes, you take it. And after all, as they say, to pull a hair from a pig is a mitzvah, right? No, it's wrong. It's a mistake. It's a mistake. You think in Israel is any different? They take money from the government says, okay, take money, go to the army. We have a Kadosh Baruch Hu. We don't need anybody else. We don't need governments, we don't need presidents, we don't need kings, we don't need anything. I'm not saying we should disobey, absolutely not. We should obey the laws, we should participate in this and contribute to the society. But when it comes to emunah, to a belief, the only thing you believe is in Hashem. The only guarantee is what Hashem guarantees you. Everything else could be taken away from you in a second. And that's the problem. That's where we're going. And that's what the Zohar want to teach us here also. You should know that everything has a spiritual meaning as well. Everything has a spiritual aspect as well. Above our senses. It's a spiritual aspect to everything we do. But there are certain things that our five senses cannot really grasp and comprehend. And that will be almost like the chaos theory that they have in that have in physics and in math. That it really is the basis, when they're talking about physics, to many phenomena that could not be explained in the universe based on our regular physics. So then you have quantum physics, and you have all kind of things that really does not make sense, but they are able to explain it through different, really high level math and physics to explain. Otherwise, it cannot be explained. But it looks to us as a tremendous chaos, as chaotic events and so on and so forth. But if you really know it, there's a tremendous order and there's tremendous wisdom that we cannot understand. And so is the way the world is conducted in the hands of Hashem. The Zohar explains that the difference between Rashaim, wicked people, and Rasha is Rashi Tevot, Ratzon Shel Atzmo. A Rasha is not necessarily a person who is what you think is a Rasha. He's a wicked man. You could be a very nice man who crosses old ladies down the street, who picks up dog poop after his neighbor. But he's a very selfish person. Ratzon Shel Atzmo. What he wants to do. He doesn't care about anybody else. That's a Rasha, the Zohar explains to us. And these are the people who just do the opposite. Who people go lefi derech haemet. And what is derech haemet? In the way of Etz HaChaim. Etz Chaim hi, what do we say? Machzikim ba. Now we'll see. And what is derech haemet? Derech haemet is the dvekut, attachment, dedication to the path of the Torah and to the path of Hashem. In other words, to try to put yourself on the same frequency of God, which is in a way the frequency of the universe. I hate when people say, oh, the universe is arranged. The universe did not arrange anything. HaKadosh Baruch Hu arranged it. Or the stars of the universe were aligned. So there's no! God did. The universe does not think. The universe does not have wisdom. God has wisdom. Of course, you're going to explain everything in a non-godly way because you don't want to acknowledge it. That's called avoidance. You also, and that's one of the things. So you'll see that everything that you do also in your day-to-day life would also reflect on how you interact with God. You would eventually avoid the fact that there is a God. Because you don't want to acknowledge it. Because if you acknowledge it, you have to do something about it. If you don't want to do something about it, for whatever reason, so guess what? There's no God. Easy, no God. We all do that. And we need to learn not to do it. And the first sign, as we just saw, the first sign of internal weakness to such a degrading degree is complaining in vain. Not willing to do something about it. And that's horrific. I mean, that's really weak people. So and what is that frequency of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? The frequency of what we call the universe. It is giving love, giving light, giving hope to people. In other words, we really need to focus ourselves to this frequency of constant flow, endless flow, not to hold thing for us. That's why we also have the mitzvah of tzedakah, to give from yourself. The tendency of the person is to hold. I don't want to give away my money. I don't want to give money to the yeshiva. You know why? Because if I give money, I'll be losing money. I'm not going to be saving money. Excuse me. Why do you think your life is so good right now? Because you gave money? I don't want to give money. I'm going to lose money. It's not your money to lose. You didn't ever have it. What you were giving it for? I don't want to help another guy. I don't want to have him get a job. Maybe he'll get my job. You don't believe in Hashem? We need to change that everything to reach a point that everything that what we want, that we want for ourselves, what we ask for ourselves will be not for ourselves, for just for us, for ourselves, so we can give it to other people. You want to get something that you didn't get it, ask for it, so you can hand it over to somebody else. You want to be a big wise man? Not a problem. For what? To get a Nobel Prize? That's stupid. You wanna get wisdom, tremendous wisdom, so you can share it with others. So you could be good with others. You can help other people. You want to have a lot of money. What do you need a lot of money for? What do you need a lot of money for? You want to go on a submarine to go down to the Titanic and blow yourself to smithereens? That's what you need your money for? You know how many people you could have fed with this money that you spend on this thing? They really need the money. Look at it. You need to fly first class. What do you need to fly first class? Is what, $10,000 to fly first class? How about you take your money and then, take $5,000, business class, $5,000, take $5,000, buy 2 other people tickets and never went to Israel. How about that? Or give it to people who don't have money to finish the month. So, and that's what we learned from Shlomo HaMelech. Shlomo HaMelech asked, Ribono Shel Olam, he asked him, Ribono Shel Olam, please give me wisdom for what? So I could appropriately rule over your people. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to him, not only I'm going to give you wisdom, I'm going to give you money like nobody ever had. So not only he gave him this wisdom, Shlomo HaMelech haya achacham ba'adam. He was the wisest man. Why? Because he didn't ask for himself. He asked to give for other people. You ask him for something you're not getting it, most likely is because you want it only for yourself. You don't want to give it to anybody else. And don't tell me stories. Oh, Rabbi, if I'm going to win the lottery, I'm going to build a yeshiva building. Yeah, we've been there. Now you're going to tell me, listen, Rabbi, I just won $400 million. I cannot give so much. The government took half of it. That's what works. That's what happens. So that's why the Zohar explains that when the Torah tells us, Rashayim b'chayim nikraim metim, the wicked people, while they're alive, they're called dead, because they're disconnected from Etz HaChaim, from the way of giving. They only want for themselves, from the power of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And the Mekubalim explains that the Torah is not really a history book. It's not a history book, but it's rather Etz Chaim la machazikim ba, in the fact that it is the source for connection, our connection to a spiritual power, to basically to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And every week gives us a different challenge in what we call the avodah pnimit, in our internal work that need to go through. That's why we read the Torah every year over and over, because every week has its own challenges in, hopefully, our journey to reach as much as we can, the best of our ability, a level of perfection or spiritual height, each one to his own level. And those challenges would not have come our way unless we are able to pass them. So therefore my challenges are geared for me to pass. I would not be giving Eitan challenges or Riel's challenges or Idan's challenges. Whatever those challenges will be, because I can tell you that if I would have given, for example, Idan's challenges, I would probably fail. In other words, each and every one of us faces his own challenges so he would be able to overcome them, and by overcoming them, he's developing more muscle tone, spiritual muscle tone. So they're designed for you to pass. If you fail them, it's not because the test was so hard, it's because you failed on understanding that you could pass it. And that's a very big musar to all of us. So, and we know every time the makkah comes, every time a hit comes, the medicine comes together with it, which is in the fact of the wisdom that comes in this parasha and so on. So therefore the description of the parasha are basically symbols that the purpose is to really guide us throughout this coming week. Now Parashat Chukat is also, we usually read it on Chodesh Tammuz, which is the astrological sign of Cancer, which is known for is being very, very, very sensitive. They're very sensitive people, those who are in the Cancer. And the purpose of this parasha is really to teach us to root and to direct our emotions for a place of giving to the others and not to ourselves. And only then we can cure the root of tum'ah that erased, or the fault that erased during this time back in history, and really connect to it, and by doing so, connect into Etz HaChaim. Shabbat Shalom to everybody, and have a wonderful time.